How's it going, everyone? So the Green Bay Packers have fallen and choked away the lead to the Atlanta Falcons with a score of 24-25. This was definitely a game when you're watching, especially going to the fourth quarter. You kind of felt comfortable, like we're going to win this game. We're doing good enough to win this game, and it shouldn't get out of hand, and we shouldn't lose this. Then the fourth quarter happened, and we blew a 24-12 lead, and that hurts. I feel like if we didn't have that lead, and we were it was a tight game for most of it, and we just lost towards the end. We didn't like blow this big lead we had. It wouldn't hurt as much, but it's due to the fact we had this lead, and it felt like we were going to win this game just to see it all crumble away and dissipate within our eyes of seeing such an atrocious quarter. That's what hurts the most, because we understand this is not going to be a Super Bowl year. This is a what's Jordan Love year. What is this team year? This is a growing year. This is a very young team. We are the youngest team in the NFL. We know there are going to be growing pains. I don't think we expected this type of growing pain, though. So that really sucked to watch, but it's all unfortunately part of the process. Even when Aaron Rodgers took over in 2008, he had growing pains, and it's not going to be all great like we play the Bears every week. If only we played the Bears every week, but it's not going to. So it sucks, but it's part of the process. It's part of the growing pains, and we're finally at least seeing that I'm comfortable with Jordan Love right now. 2 weeks in, I was very shaky, and I didn't know what to expect of him. No one did. I'm starting to become very comfortable with Jordan Love. So now, going into this game, we were out our number one wide receiver and number one running back in Aaron Jones and Christian Watson. A surprise person that was also out was David Bakhtiari. He was questionable all week. He's been questionable his whole last 2 COVID years, pretty much 3 years. And we really didn't expect him to be out. I didn't expect him to be out. I've started to take it with a grain of salt. And out of nowhere, like 2 hours before the game, inactive, David Bakhtiari. So that hurts. Now we're down our best offensive lineman, David Bakhtiari, the guy that protects Jordan Love's blind side. Great. Now we're even more in a detriment. So for the day, Jordan Love, he did pretty good. He played within the offense. He took some good shots. And overall, I thought he had a pretty good game. He did miss Romeo Doubs on a deep post that could have been a touchdown and probably would have been a touchdown. But he was kind of getting rushed. He misread the safety. He's going to learn from this, I hope. I think he will learn from this. But overall for the day, 14 for 25, 151 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and 113.5 QB rating. Glad to see he is still taking care of the ball. When we went from Aaron Rodgers and his ridiculously low interception ratio to Jordan Love, I did honestly kind of expect an uptick, and we're two games in, so still very small sample size. But for these 2 games, I'm very happy to see that, hey, we're giving him protection, for one. B, he's taking care of the ball, and he's not taking stupid shots. And where it was very funny watching, and they kept talking about how Aaron Rodgers would tell Jordan Love, hey, check down, go for the check downs. Completion's completion. And I'm like thinking, I've seen Aaron Rodgers ignore the check down many times, so that's kind of ironic listening to that. But Jordan Love took what the defense gave him for the most part, so I was very happy with his performance outside the fourth quarter, but the fourth quarter I don't entirely put on him as well, even though the offense as a whole was a disgrace, honestly. As for the rushing attack for the Packers, A.J. Dillon pretty much got the majority of all the snaps, pretty much 75% of them. Had 15 carries for 55 yards, a 3.7 average, no touchdowns. He was the lead back. He was the only back that Matt LaFleur pretty much put in there to run the ball, and he did a terrible job. There were spurts and points during this game where I was like, there's the A.J. Dillon when they were talking about Tyler Algier, how he's a north to south runner, puts his shoulder down and delivers a blow. And that's something we want from A.J. Dillon. And he kind of showed that. But then you'd see the vast negative that we've seen the past year and a half now, to where the dude tackles himself. I don't know what's up with this man. Is he just too big? Learn from Derrick Henry or something. Because he slipped on his own feet way too many times. He seemed a little lost, and we just want him to go north and south. Don't slip on your feet. Don't injure your own linemen. North and south. That's kind of all we want. And for a big of a back as he is, especially since he's should be responsible when Aaron Jones is back, be responsible for a short yardage situation. I have more faith that Aaron Jones is going to get me 3rd and 1 than I do A.J. Dillon. And that was kind of on display today. during the fourth quarter, during the second drive, I believe, where we ran it 3 times. I'm not even mad that we ran it 3 times because in the first play, we got about 6 yards. Good first run. Second one, got it down to third and 1. Okay, you got 3 yards. We should be able to knock it in 3-1. Dude slipped on his feet and tackled himself behind the line. He wasn't even touched. And we didn't get it, which proceeded to a fourth down. And, well, the false start and then punting it and giving the ball back. A.J. Dillon has definitely tackled and fallen on his own feet way too many times to where it is a huge concern. And I feel like he has slipped and fallen on his feet more than I've seen Ahman Green before he fixed his fumble problems back in the day. Like, Ahman Green fumbled less than this guy trips himself. It's insane. But moving on from that, Jordan Love had 2 rushing attempts for 23 yards. I thought he rushed at good times and picked up a key first down on one of those rush attempts. So showing that mobility, good to see. Manuel Wilson, 3 carries for 5 yards, 1.7 average. They didn't really utilize him. I thought he would be used more in the Aaron Jones set, but it looks like they kind of took that out the game plan, which does suck seeing because it meant that the defense for the Falcons can kind of just play within the numbers during the runs. They don't have to worry too much on the outside runs like we did with Bijan Robinson, who pretty much just stretched us, not north and south, but east and west. So that was a little disappointing to see. And Patrick Taylor, 1 carry, 1 yard, but his call-up was probably more just having some more depth, but they barely used him. So he was pretty much a non-result in the rushing game. Now for the receiving crew, rookies are starting to ball out. Good to see, especially since Romeo Doubs was the number 1. They have a good corner on the Atlanta side, and he played pretty good defense on Romeo Doubs. So very glad to see Jordan Love not force feeding it to Doubs. He's not open. There was one throw where they threw it to their number 1 corner, but that was Malik Heath, I believe, at receiver, not even Romeo Doubs, which shouldn't have been thrown. But overall, not force feeding Romeo Doubs. If he's not open, don't force it to him. Glad to see that. So for the day, Dontavian Wicks, 2 receptions, 40 yards, 1 touchdown. Jaden Reed, 4 receptions, 37 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And I actually thought it was initially a run, but I realized they kind of did that weird pitch forward, so it is a receiving touchdown on the jet sweep. That guy's a lot faster than I expected. I knew he was fast, but seeing him on that jet sweep touchdown, he is definitely a lot faster than I expected. So really glad to see that from Jaden Reed. Glad and understand why he's in the slot. And he's definitely going to be a great player for us, especially when Christian Watson comes back and we have our top 3 receivers. That's going to be great to see. Hopefully Christian Watson keeps improving on his hamstring. He was a limited participant. So hopefully next week he can come back, even if it's in a limited capacity. And then we have Luke Musgrave with 2 receptions, 25 yards. Thought he played decently well. On the run blocking part, I did see him kind of miss a couple run blocks, which did hurt A.J. Dillon in the run game. But overall, Luke Musgrave, you can see he has some speed and it could be a weapon once he gets more in tune with finding the soft spot in the defense. And maybe if they dial up some more plays for him. Now, moving on to the defensive side of the ball, Joe Barry is Joe Barry. I think we have a lot of talent on this team. Quay Walker did play despite being in concussion protocol for most of the week, or pretty much all the week, but was able to clear it and suit up. And he was very crucial to this game. Like, he showed up. He played very well. Very glad to see him. Same thing with Darnell Savage for the most part. He didn't get burned. His tackling is still not wrap-up tackling. He's still just throwing his body. And he whiffed on 2 or 3 tackles, but he did make a lot of good plays. So he's definitely in a lot better place than he was last year when he lost his job. So for the day, Desmond Ridder for the Falcons, 19 for 32, 237 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, and 1 sack. The 1 sack is a little shocking. Our defense, especially in the first half, especially the first quarter, we were getting after them. We were very aggressive. Love to see the aggressiveness still, and we were getting after the quarterback. Unfortunately, he slightly slipped away, or he was able to get the ball off, and unfortunately, Jair kind of had a bad game in a way. Like, Drake London ended the game with 6 receptions and 67 yards and a touchdown. There were just a couple plays where unfortunately Drake just got the best of Jair. There was a play where let me back up. Desmond Ridder had 1 pick. He should have had 3 or 4. So there was a couple of plays. One, Jair, easy pick. Probably would have been a pick 6. Could have definitely changed the momentum of this game. And the overall outcome of this game, dropped it. That sucked. Quay Walker dropped it. Pick in his hand. Probably wouldn't have been a pick six, but after last week, who knows? Probably not. Either way, still would have ended the drive and would have got the defense off the field, which was a big factor in this game. So Desmond Ridder played within what they asked him to do, made the correct plays. He picked up some first downs with his feet and kept the chains moving for them, kept our defense on. In the running game, this is once again where the Packers constantly get dashed. And Bijan Robinson was and is a great running back, and it showed like he made tacklers miss. Bijan Robinson, 19 carries, 124 yards with a 6.5 yard average. And he's just a very, very good running back. Was able to go east and west, read the blocks, let them set up, and found the hole and just cut through them and attacked. Very glad. He probably would have had more yards. I feel like he could have had 200 yards rushing, honestly, if it wasn't for Quay Walker. Quay Walker was seen constantly tackling this man, and he saved a couple touchdowns where if Quay Walker didn't make the tackle, it was probably going to go for 6. So Quay Walker did a great job against Bijan Robinson and that rushing attack. For the day, Quay Walker, 17 total tackles and 8 solo tackles. And then for the other running back, Tyler Algier, 16 attempts, 48 yards, and 3 yards per carry. Now, that statistic doesn't really jump out, but when watching the game, his 3 yards a carry were very, very important for the Falcons. They wore that defense down. The defense was on the field what felt like forever, and I could see why in the fourth quarter they just started getting tired. There's no way of sugarcoating that. They just got tired. They were on the field way too much, and the run game just tired us down. Like for the day, Kenny Clark was credited with 61 total snaps out of 82 possible total defensive snaps. Kenny Clark played 61 of them. That is a lot of snaps for a big man. He is, 320 pounds? That's a lot of snaps, and he got gas along with the entire defense. So not being able to get those 2 interceptions and then staying on the field, the Falcons, to their credit, they were aggressive. There were a couple times where it's like, all right, we stopped them. They went for it on 4th down and they converted, couldn't get off the field, made that drive longer, and the defense just kept getting more gas. And that, I think, played a huge reason of that fourth quarter collapse. So for the day, here are all the defensive statistics. So Quay Walker, like I said, 17 total tackles. Devondre Campbell, 14 total tackles. Our inside linebackers getting a ton of tackles, especially with the run game. Darnell Savage with 8 total tackles and 6 solo. Once again, I thought he actually had a pretty good day. He didn't get behind the line, but he did save a bit of touchdowns and help save some long runs. So I thought overall he did play a good game. He did whiff a few times, but overall, good. Rudy Ford, 7 total tackles. Preston Smith, 6. Kenny Clark, 6 total tackles with a half a sack. Jair, 5 total tackles. He should have had a pick. Sucks to see. And Rizul and Kingsley Ignabaru with 4 tackles. And so at the end, it's the same old story. Run game against Packers. Have fun. The run defense is non-existent. We just let people run all over us. I don't get why Joe Barry does some things. It felt like we were playing nickel coverage. And granted, some of their coverages, Kyle Pitts may have been a determining factor because it's hard to play a base 4-3 or a 3-4 when they have Kyle Pitts, who is pretty much, yes, it's a tight end, but dude's a receiver. So they're running a 3 receiver set technically. So you want to play the nickel package. Okay, I get that. But maybe come with a jumbo nickel package or something. Get 5 defensive line instead of the 4 where you're not really clogging up the lanes. And then, Bijan Robinson can just slightly go outside, look at his block, and cut in once he finds the hole. So Joe Barry does take a lot of blame for this. I don't think he should get all the blame because the defense, they should have had 2 picks at the end of the day. They didn't execute. That would have changed a lot of this potentially for this team and the outcome of this game. In the fourth quarter, Matt LaFleur, his play calling was a little questionable. It seemed like in the fourth quarter, they didn't get the quick throws in, and they just couldn't drive and sustain a drive, and that allowed the defense to once again get tired. The 3 runs, I'm not mad about. Not mad at all with Matt LaFleur. More mad at A.J. Dillon for tripping on himself. But the 3 runs, it made sense. It's better because if we passed the ball 3 times and we had 3 more incompletions, then it would have been another Atlanta Falcons story against the Patriots where they never ran the ball with the lead. So I'm sure that could be in Matt LaFleur's in the back of his head because he was there as a coach for that game. So that could have been in the back of his head. I'm not mad for the 3 runs. A.J. Dillon, that's all on him because he should have been able to convert that 3rd and 1. Then lastly, on special teams, nothing extravagant. Anders Carlson, 1 for 1 on a 33 long field goal and completed or converted all 3 of his extra point attempts. There was a big mix-up on the first drive where we can say it bit us in the butt because we lost by 1. In the first drive, they were at the 51. It would have been a 51-yard field goal. And unfortunately, they got a delayed game penalty, which would have made it a 56. We decided to punt instead of going for the field goal. Not really sure why, considering Anders Carlson has a boot. And he did make 57-yard in-game. It was preseason, but he did make a 57-yard field goal. And so far this regular season, he's looked good. All his kicks are right down the middle. And going into the season, I'm pretty sure most Packer fans were like, that dude's iffy. Give me Mason Crosby back. Or at least I know I kind of was. So he's been good this regular season. Why not roll him out there for a 56-yard field goal? Or B, Matt LaFleur, you should have probably saw the clock running down. And if you were going to switch up from a field goal to a punt, call timeout. Burn the timeout. We would have been questioning why'd you burn the timeout and all that. But knowing what you did with just punting the ball at 56, I'm a little bit aggravated about we should have just kicked the 56-yard field goal or called the timeout, preserved the 51-yard attempt, and let them kick it. Not saying that would have made the difference in this game, though, because, yes, we lost by 1. But based off that final drive of the Atlanta Falcons, I feel like they probably would have still scored a touchdown, and we would have got the ball with 30 seconds. And I don't think it played a huge outcome to this game. But looking back at it, I think there are some things to learn from that. So just wanted to make mention of that. And Anders Carlson has had a good start of the season so far, and I'm starting to become more confident in him. Hopefully that continues. Now for the injury front, we had a bit of injuries in this game. Once again, Bakhtiari was out. Aaron Jones was out. Christian Watson was out. Elton Jenkins was questionable and limited participant throughout the week. He went out with a sprained MCL that has pretty much been confirmed. It happened, I believe it was when A.J. Dillon tripped on his feet and ran into the back of Elton Jenkins, sprained his MCL. So that kind of sucks. With that, if it is actually a sprained MCL, he'll probably be out at least 3 weeks. So we can expect him to be out for at least 3 weeks. And it's going to be interesting how the offensive line shuffles because with Bakhtiari out, Rasheed Walker actually got the start and not Yosh Nijman. And I guess Yosh Nijman just doesn't seem to really have a place on this team. He got some snaps, but I believe it was only about 10 or 12 total snaps. And it was when they had essentially 6 offensive linemen on the line for a run or whatever type of package they were running when they had 6 offensive linemen. So it seems like Yosh Nijman is on his way out. It's going to be interesting to see if Bakhtiari doesn't go next week, which I'm not sure what's going on with him, why he was out. There's no official word. A lot of people think it's because we were playing on turf. No official word, so we're going to be wondering about that for next week. And then B, if Bakhtiari does come back, does Zach Tom stay at right tackle? Do they shoot him into left guard? Does Rasheed Walker play left guard? And maybe Nijman gets right tackle. There's a lot of potential variations, so our line is now currently in flux, especially with the MCL sprain to Elton Jenkins. Then lastly, Lucas Van Ness did go out with what looked like an elbow or a shoulder injury. There's been any clear news or new news about what his injury is, if it was severe, but it happened when pretty much, I think it was Bijan Robinson, it could have been Tyler Algier, ran straight into him. I think it was Tyler Algier. Straight into him, pretty much delivered a blow to Lucas Van Ness. Van Ness did make the tackle for the most part, but he went away with some type of injury. So we're going to be looking at that, see if it's a severe one or not. I don't think it is, considering there hasn't been a lot of news. The main injury news has been on Elton Jenkins. That about wraps up everything with the game and all. Next week, we do play the New Orleans Saints. We are finally home. They are currently 1-0 since they play on Monday Night Football and their game hasn't completed. So as of right now, they are 1-0. But let me know what you think down in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, go Pack Go.